I probably had 4 or 5 old-time Midlanders contact me and say, yeah, I heard about them bunkers all my life, Here's a picture I found off the internet. 22 months after the murder attempt, I got served with a subpoena for a protective order from the ex-wife. And I hadn't seen or talked to her in a year and a half, and she lived over 100 miles away. She's actually alleged to be involved in the shooting by her former boyfriend, and who said that she threatened to have him killed too. Here's part of the transcript from that case. And ADA Stacy Jewett was asking me, she says, do you believe that the people are still occupying some part of the underground tunnel or bunker at this time? And kept asking me about bunker, and I'm like, I never used the word bunker, Says, did you ever see people living in the underground bunkers? I'm thinking, no, I didn't, And here's another one. She says, now I'm going to get to where this kind of plays in this, but what do you think the people in these underground bunkers and tunnels are doing? Are they conducting any kind of business out of that location? And and I'm like, well, I can speculate. And my attorney says, I object, Your Honor, you shouldn't have to speculate. But I knew where she was going. She's talking about the P word. I think that's what they're doing down there. And here the ex-wife was asked, did he ever express to you that he believed there was an underground bunker in his home? And it says, well, initially he was just the attic. And then it became, he started saying he believed there were tunnels, And she was the first one that mentioned underground. She says, you think they're coming from underground? I'm like, what? But she was right. That's exactly what was going on. I've now documented multiple people saying tunnels, underground homes are here, and found supporting evidence on old Google Maps. As far as I'm concerned, that's absolute proof. And that was after I was shot by somebody under my home. Listen to this one.
How the buildings underground that he was talking about, it was not 1 million, it was actually 4, and they're actually homes.
That are underground?
3-bedroom, yes, they're 3-bedroom homes.
3-bedroom or 4 3-bedroom underground homes. Judy Chris Zahorza, she told me, she says, I was told that it was front page news in the newspapers when it was built, but they said it was salt vaults to store surplus oil. But if you talk to the teenagers that helped work on them, they said it was houses. Okay, there's another one. Tisha Ann Wilkinson Brumley, she told me, I've had friends been involved in those oil show parties. They're exactly what you say. They are underground homes. Okay. She also said her sister used to go to those show parties and she got close to them before she shut that down. I've suspected that multi-billion-dollar oil companies that may have been bribing elected officials and law enforcement to cover up these underground homes and the parties that were going on down there. The first owner of my home is Randy Offenberger right here, and he was a petroleum engineer for Pioneer. What I noticed recently was Pioneer here had wrote a $105,000 check to the Midland Sheriff's Office. I also wrote the same check to the Midland Police, the Ector Sheriff, and the Odessa Police. And I'm not saying these oil companies or Pioneer was bribing law enforcement to cover up these crimes and murders connected to underground homes. I'm asking them oil companies to speak up and get these underground homes exposed, and let's arrest these violent criminals using them. Okay, here's another one. I was talking to Rhonda Denman Rogers, and I told her, I said, my home is sitting on top of some kind of underground facility, which is very important, or at least near this facility. And Rhonda Denman Rogers says, yes, it is. I know. It's a half block away. A half block away from my home is a home on Westmont Court and Whittle Way. It had the same brick mortar problem my home had. And I believe that came from digging under the home. It settled the foundation, broke the brick mortar joints. It also had a water well right here and an empty lot right there. So that might be one of the locations of one of the other 4 underground homes. Okay, here's overview map screen. There's the Home Depot store right behind my house. You can see where the tunnel's cut right here, coming directly to my house. In my backyard was where I believe one of the underground homes is located. Okay, this home is the one I just talked about, around the corner, half block away, and it has a water well and a brick mortar problem. And then I found another one over here on Fairgreen Court, across from the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. It also had a brick mortar problem, and it had a water well next to it. And I had a law enforcement officer advise me to snoop around that church, the Fairmont Park Church of Christ. So that might be 3 of the 4 underground homes. That would still leave 1. I used to post this meme on social media, and I would tell people, go to maps.google.com and look up my address on Fair Circle behind the Midland Home Depot store, switch between the map and the satellite views. And what they would see on the map screen was a large bunker in my backyard. You switched over the satellite screen, you didn't see it. Okay, so obviously that's one of the 4 underground homes where the oil show parties were going on. I told the city of Midland about this, wrote them on the information request, said, and told them, I said, multiple people documented saying tunnels underground homes are here, supporting evidence found on Google Maps, and a week later that gets deleted from Google Maps. You can't find it no more. I believe that was done to cover up the crimes and murders here. Here's another one. Layla Gail O'Brien. She's a CAD program, worked for PBK Engineering. She told me she worked on this project that was completed in 1987. Here she's telling me 7.35 mil. And I said miles, and she said million. Okay. And then she said on permit. And I said, this was the cost of the project? She said it was called the safe houses, and it was put in for the Bushes. The Midland is the hometown of the Bushes, if you didn't know that. The first home my realtor showed me was this home on Golf Course right here. I could have bought that home, and I found this plaque at an antique store. Julia Weidman, she saw what I posted on social media about Layla saying the permits, $7.35 million in permit. She sent me this email on November 22nd, 2019, and she was telling me, she said, she drove down from Dallas and had a meeting with the city of Midland to get the permits. She said James Rawls was clearly prepared to tell me about the missing records. And she said the basis of our conversation was the IRC 2015, 2018, Chapter 3, Section, et cetera, storm shelters, whatever. Okay. And when I asked him about the permit records for storm shelters in Midland, he, with a smile, told me that all of the permit records prior to 2015 had been destroyed or lost due to an attempt to digitize the department records in 2014, 2015. I figure that's a lie because IT would back up important records, and so there's probably a copy of them. I asked him twice if he was the gatekeeper. He said he was, so he was the only place you get those records, okay? When I brought up the subject of the basement at the Home Depot right behind my house, it clearly unnerved him, but he was downright gloating about those missing records. I looked up James Rawls on LinkedIn, and I saw where he used to be paint supervisor at the Home Depot right behind my house. Okay, during the election for sheriff in 2020, after Gary Painter died, I was on the phone talking to the sheriff candidate, Joe Lozano. Here's what he said.
A woman named Rhonda Denman Rogers tells me that the underground facility is a half block away. And I also have a screenshot of this statement. She didn't say it was 1.5 blocks, so she knew exactly where it was at.
Mike,
Yeah,
Mike, you know, that was Painter's hideout thing.
And so he was telling me that our last sheriff, Gary Painter, used to hang out in these underground homes. And that's huge news hidden from the public. This is back to the woman who told me that there was 4 3-bedroom underground homes. And I'm going to tell you, here she told me what was happening down there.
I even asked him about the pizza parties. They said they're not called pizza parties, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, besides having pizza parties underground and shooting me, here's what Aaron Packelhofer told me. And here it is right here, the important thing. He said, I won't involve myself. I'm well aware of the corruption accusations against the Midland police. I'm not so sure it's secret police, but if I can ask, there are 4 people who were murdered, died in your house. What are their names? Okay. I suspected that Mike Lawhon, the previous owner of my home, was one of them. And then Lisa Friss wanted to make it real clear that I knew that Aaron was a Mason in town. Invite Buddy to one of your Mason meetings. And so that was interesting. Okay, here's the last one in this video. I met Homeland Security at the Midland Home Depot store, and I showed them where I believe this tunnel was coming to my house. And we looked in my backyard where I believe the oil show parties were going on. I showed them all this evidence. 2 weeks later, July 17, 2019, I get home. They're digging up the ground. They're pouring concrete. 2 weeks before that, I'd been right there with Homeland Security, showing them where a human trafficking murder tunnel was located. Okay. And then here, about a week and a half later, July 30th, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announces he's going to retire. I had talked to Conaway. I gave him this evidence, and then I found out his brother-in-law used to live directly across the street from my house. So I felt sure that Conaway knew about these underground homes. And when I got that on video, them pouring concrete, he retired. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.